Hey fans, it's me Dan, and this time I'm going to try and help you, Anya. So you want some advice on your Photoshop file. You want to make your website, your personal website, I'm assuming, to look like something like this. So before we actually get going, let's just try and chop up your Photoshop file and actually figuring out, what elements are we going to create in order to make this this page. First things first, I do not have access to your Photoshop file, so my version is going to be really ugly, just some plain colors, but I will definitely show you how to create this. Okay, so first thing, we do know that we have a background, and we do know that we have a frame for a website, and inside that frame we do have three boxes. One box to the left, which is an image of you, and then two boxes to the right, one in the top right, probably being some sort of a logo, and one in the bottom right, which is sort of a menu. All three boxes have different sizes, and the interesting part probably with this one is actually a menu, because it's changed. It looks like font size, and then positioning. So this is definitely worth trying solving. Okay, so first things first, I'll open my Dreamweaver, new document, and HTML5, hit create. I'm gonna save this file inside a folder called Anya. So I'm just gonna create your folder here. Here we go, like this. I'm gonna save it as our landing page, aka index, like this. So inside our body, we're gonna create these containers. First things first, we want a container for our entire website. So we create that as a wrapper, and we're gonna make a comment to the div, the closing container, which is this one, /div. I'm just gonna write it a div, and because we're gonna have a lot of containers inside our wrapper, we're actually gonna have another one just showing you that this is actually the actual website. So we're just gonna call this one content, and the same thing here, content. And inside our content, we're gonna have our three boxes. So we're gonna have div id equals image, like this, and we're gonna have same comments here, div end. And we want another one, which is div id equals logo, I'm assuming, and a comment for that one, logo, and like that. Now we're gonna have a navigation. I'm not gonna type in the HTML5 here for nav, so it doesn't really matter for this one. You can do it if you want to, but for now I'm not. I'm just gonna go with the normal container. So we're just gonna call this navigation, like this. The comment as well. You see, we have a lot of containers open now, so it's really good with the comment here, so we know which one is closing which one. So we have our parent here, which is body. Inside body we do have a wrapper, and inside our wrapper we have our website content, and inside our website we have one box called image, another box called logo, and a third box called navigation. Navigation represents menu, logo, and image. Okay, so it's just something to describe, what I'm actually working with here. So we need to create a style sheet now. So hit new, CSS, and we're going to save the file, and we're going to create a folder. Sorry, CSS, and inside that one we have our main. Hit Control Save into index, and we're gonna attach our style sheet to our document, like this link up here. Okay, now we hit back in our CSS. We're gonna make some global rules for our entire document, and these are always good to start out with. Margin 0 pixels and padding 0 pixels, like this, because a lot of these elements that we are working with sometimes has default settings. So by setting margin and padding to 0 pixels, anything that we haven't specified a different ruler for, they will just be 0. So they will just be not touched or anything. Next thing is that we want to go into a wrapper. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna need the hashtag for referring to a container like this. And inside our wrapper, we're gonna give it a width of 1000 pixels. This is just, you know, easy numbers working with. And a height of 1000 pixels. Okay, we're also gonna give it a margin. Also, I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna go back in here and try and show it. See, I can't see anything, so actually what I want to do is I want to give it a border of 1 pixels solid. Oh, 1 pixel should be together, one solid, and we'll choose a color, just this light blue here so we can see it. And I hit F5 to refresh it, and then I can see. So this frame here is our wrapper. Okay. Now inside our wrapper we do want our content, which is our page. So I hit content, container open, close, curly brackets. And we're going to give it a width of 800 pixels, like this. And we probably should give it a margin of 100 pixels top, 100 pixels right, and 100 pixels bottom, and 100 pixels left. This means that we're actually going to fill the 1000 pixels of our wrapper, since width has 2 dimensions, right, left, height has 2 dimensions, top, bottom, equals 400 pixels total. Okay, this is going to make, if I'm going to choose a background color like this and choose it for this boring green, go in and hit 5. I've centered our content inside this wrapper, okay? Because we have 100 pixels here, 100 pixels top, 100 pixels right, and 100 pixels bottom, all right? Now inside our content here, we're gonna have something else. We're gonna have our 3, well, it is actually containers, and the containers are image, logo, and navigation. So I would just go back to your Photoshop file here. The ones I'm talking about now is your image here and your logo up here in your menu. Okay, so those are the ones that I want to focus right now. I haven't given these a border, but you know, I showed the example with the wrapper here of giving it 1 pixel. I could give it 10 pixels if I want to, and I could choose the color that you had in there. So this is just a way of showing you that adding a border to your elements is no problem. We're gonna go with 1 pixel for now. Then we're gonna go and create some CSS for our image. That was the name of our container. Curly brackets, open, close. And inside our image, we're gonna give it a width for, let's say, 500 pixels, because we don't want to take up the entire space, like this, and a height of 800. And then we need a background color just to see the difference. I'm going to choose a reddish one. Okay, we're going to hit F5, and you can see now that we're pretty much just taking up this entire space here inside our content. So if red color here was your image, you would kind of get the idea of it. And if we were to give it a border, we could do that as well. It's no problem, but for now I'm not going to show you. Okay, next thing is that we probably should float it, but let's just wait and see, you know, what the problem will actually be once we create several containers inside a container. So next one is logo. Hit curly brackets, open, close. We're going to give it a width of how much? Well, we take 500, deduct them from 800, leaves us 300 pixels. And since we do gonna have 2 containers to the right, we can probably not say height 800 pixels. So let's just say 300 pixels as well. Okay, something like this. We're gonna choose a background color just to see it. And this one we choose nice paper for. Hit F5. Oh, that was not it. And see, now just bumped outside the container. That doesn't really make sense. Well, we can actually start specifying these elements to be within this container by going up to image, float left. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Now the purple container is gone. Well, what if I actually go in here and say float left to my logo also? So now I've taken my image container, told it with these width and height dimension to float left inside our content container. I'm telling my logo with the width and the height to float left inside our content. So this one will now read that it should float next to our image container. Okay, so let's save it and see. So you can see the red box is your image and the purple box is supposed to be your little logo. And again, you can give them border, okay? But I'm not going to show you, sorry. I've shown the example in our wrapper here. You just play around with that. And keep in mind, every time you add border pixels to your containers, you always have to deduct the amount of pixels that you're actually adding, not only from top, but also from right, bottom, and left. So yeah, there's a bit of math when you're working with this, because your content box is only 800 pixels. And if I were to add a frame around my content box, and around my image, and around my logo, and around my navigation, I need to figure out, you know, how many pixels do I need to free in order to actually have this nice frame around as you have here. Okay? Yeah, makes sense? I hope so. And you don't really need to go in and say, well, border 1 pixels. You can give it a border bottom, border left. Okay? But more on that on We Free Schools. Just look that border up in there and you can actually learn a lot from it. Next container we're going to have, and that's the interesting one. That's the one I actually really want to try and help you with. That's the navigation. Curly bracket, open, close, like this. I'm going to give it a width of what? What do we have left? 300 pixels, that's true. And a height of 500 pixels. I'm going to give it a background color of what? Like this weird blue. And let's just try and save it and see. Well, nothing really goes on. Well, that's because that container is inside or behind this red one. So let's just give it a float. If I float left, what happens? What happens? It goes to place. It puts itself down here because this element is the biggest one inside our container content. So it will automatically fill out this space. The next one is this, and then the blue. And it's also determined by the order I write my containers inside my HTML document. So you can see wrapper first, content next, image, logo, navigation. All right. So it's some sort of a system to how you're writing your containers. Yeah. Okay. Let's go into our navigation and let's just make an unordered list. And inside that one, we make a list item like this one. And what was the first one? That was called one portfolio. 1 point portfolio, like this. Okay. So let's try and hit save and update it. First off, we can remove that little dot by going in and typing navigation. I always like doing this. You can always just refer to unordered list right away like this, but old habits, you know. Always do this. And do you know what you have to write here? List style, type, and we need a none. Right? I remember this code. Yay, that's true. Okay, so now remove the dot there. Next thing is actually we want to change the font for this list item only, and we also want to move it a bit. Okay, now again, it's not going to be very pretty. It's just going to show you actually how to create this fantastic menu that you have here. Okay, so what do we do actually? What can we do? Well, I could create a container inside my list going like this. But that would just be too much work, you know. Something that we can do in our HTML source code, I can actually style directly into a specific element. So if I want to change this specific list here, I can go directly into it and style it by writing style and then hit enter or equals and then the value. So let's try and give it a font family. Now we're going to give it a Tahoma just to see the difference. We're going to close this one and open a new style like this, just by closing it like you do in a normal style sheet after giving it a value of whatever, and then you hit enter and, you know, create a new value, or you close your style. But we're not done yet. We're gonna give it a font size of 18 pixels, and we're also gonna make this text here fat. How do we do that? Well, we write strong like this and close it like that. So it looks like a lot of code inside one list here. Don't panic, because the first code right here, that is pure list. But we also added a list style element where we changed the font, which is this one, and then the font size here. Then we jumped out of the list item here, or list element, and made this text 1 point space portfolio. We made that fat, like bold, by adding this element around it. Okay, we save it, go into our element here and hit F5. Now you can see that I've changed it. Okay, only for this list element. So if I were to create a new list, let's just try and see this one actually. So li and close the list, and then we just say 1 portfolio. So just writing the same thing here. Hit F5, and you can see these two are actually different now. Now I do want to move this 1 point portfolio into a bit more center. So I could use the float, but the float will fuck it up. That's not gonna work. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna use margin like this. We're probably gonna use margin left, because we want it to move from left towards center. Okay, and let's write just 40 pixels and see what happens. And you can see now I'm moving it. But also probably just write something around margin, give it 10 pixels top dimension, 0 from the right, 0 from the bottom, but 50 pixels from the left, and see where we are going. Something like there. I could increase the font size if that's what I wanted. You can, you know, do so many changes. Basically, I don't really know what font you're using here, but I know that you know it, so you can just add the values that you would want to it, and create it. So let's try and make 2 point gallery, just to show you how we can create that 2 point gallery like this. So guess what? Let's go into this list here and style it directly. We're going to change the font family like that. This time we're going to change it to Madonna. There we go. I'm also going to change the font size to 25 pixels. And we're going to give it a margin of 10. Oh, actually, I'm just going to leave it alone now and see how this looks. So hit F5. I want to push it a bit more in, like the portfolio one. So what do? Well, we should try and give it a margin left, because we don't want the gap between 1 point portfolio and 2 point gallery to be that big. So we just, instead of changing the dimension from the top, we just change the dimension from the left. And we say 50 pixels. Let's see where we land. Probably a bit less. See, this is where you'll have to go in and really try and hit the right pixel. Yeah, you know, probably 33. This is not my best work, I must admit that, but at least it's showing, you know, how you can create this fantastic menu that you have. Alright? So Anya, I really hope that this one helped you. At least, you know, you can always just ask me questions. Okay? So take care. Bye-bye.